Nathan Jason Jones, an incredibly recognisable face within the game of English football, who has served as manager for multiple clubs from the mid-10s to now in 2025. Nathan Jones has been arguably one of a few figureheads who has cracked the code into guiding clubs to bigger and better things, which in this case is League One and the Championship. Both as a player and a manager, Jones is relatively acknowledged as an incredibly competent manager, which is the bare minimum you would expect your manager to amass within the sporting world, but in this case with style. Recently, Jones had just achieved promotion to the Championship with former Premier League club Charlton Athletic in the League One playoff final against Leyton Orient, with this being his second successful promotion as manager in his career. Nonetheless, it would seem as though that Jones could have had more promotions on his resume, as he notably took some wild decisions into the pursuit to always go one step further. In this video, we're going to look at the footballing career of Nathan Jones as a whole, his time as a football player, a manager, the decisions, the hard work, and the accomplishments. For me personally, I am a fan of Nathan Jones, as I can see how much passion he has for the sport. But I can't help but feel there is something about Nathan Jones which isn't all there per se, like an enigma. Additionally, it is well documented of his successes throughout his career. So why does it feel like he is in a perpetual limbo to land a big job again? So, let me tell you the tale of Nathan Jones, an enigma in limbo. Born in May of 1973, Jones was born in Blaenwonder, Wales, a Welsh mining community with a postbox, a pub and 6 chapels, which he had since been able to embrace in his upbringing, which was within the faith of Christianity. His introduction into the field of football began in 1991 at the age of 18, where he played for Ton Pentrey and Makestead Park in the Division 1 West and South Wales Premier League respectively in Wales. After applying his trade within the Welsh leagues, he didn't move far to join his next club, though it is a representative of the English football pyramid, that being Merthyr Tydfil, who at the time were in the National Conference, that being the National League today. 2 seasons he stayed with the Welsh side, residing in the English 5th tier, which then turned into a move to the 2nd tier of English football with Luton Town. Managed then by David Pleat, Jones was signed for £10,000. Staying for a solitary year, Jones did not make an appearance for the Hatters and admitted he was homesick in Bedfordshire. Of course, being the age of 23, anyone would feel homesick having to move far from home in the pursuit of making a name for yourself in the game of football. So, as such, he made his move to Spain. Maybe he had a holiday home in Badajoz. Anyway, Jones made the move to Spain in 1996, who were managed by Englishman Colin Addison. Initially, missing out on promotion to La Liga, losing to Extremadura by 1 goal, Jones spent an additional season in Spain with CD Numancia in the Segunda Division B. In hindsight, it was these 2 seasons which Jones says has contributed greatly on his life and career, as he left Spain in 1997 with promotion on his playing resume. It was then that Jones said goodbye to North Central Spain and took the next plane to sunny, luxurious Essex, as he moved to Southend. During his tenure at Southend, he also went out on loan to now liquidized club Scarborough FC in League 2, On the final day of the season, Jones's Scarborough drew with Peterborough, thinking a point would keep them in the league. However, in spectacular fashion, the other team who were fighting for survival, Carlisle, were still playing, and with the final kick from a corner, goalkeeper Jimmy Glass took the one chance he had to score the goal that kept Carlisle in the Football League. Truly, one of the most memorable moments in Football League history, but at the expense of Jones's Scarborough. 8 years later, after 128 years of existing, Scarborough were no more, with £2.5 million in debt, and now Carlisle being relegated to the National League. Things can only get worse before they get better, it would seem. Anyway, a move to Brighton in the turn of the century was next, which was most notably the moment his love for promotion took flight, as within 5 seasons with the Seagulls, Jones achieved 3 promotions, and ending his career with his final club, Yeovil, where he captained the side to Wembley in the 2007 Football League One playoff final. In 2008, Jones began his FA Level 3 coaching badge, where he coached Yeovil ladies team and was player assistant manager of Yeovil, alongside player manager Terry Skiverton in 2009. In 2012, Jones retired from professional football after making 211 appearances for the Glovers, and his coaching career would be made priority. In the pursuit of being the head honcho of a well-established football team, Jones initially joined the Charlton development squad as he helped coach the under-21s. It was then, on July 2013, he would again join Brighton, only this time as Brighton assistant manager under Oscar Garcia. With the versatile Spaniard now having managed clubs in 8 countries, they both guided Brighton to a 6th place finish in the 2013-14 season, only losing to Derby in the semi-final, thus leading to Garcia to hand in his resignation. Jones chose to stay and become a first-team coach under Sami Hyypiä. Personally, Sami Hyypiä was a football player I emulated as a youngster. No Ronaldo, no Ronaldinho, no Rivaldo, no Michael Owen. I played primarily as a defender whenever I had the chance to play football at and away from school, and Sami Hyypiä, I felt, was a footballer that I wanted to study in terms of standard defending and physical prowess. I wish I could say the same thing about his management skills though, as he only lasted 6 months at Brighton, ending his own tenure in December of 2014. With a win rate of 23% from 26 games in charge, 3 league wins and 9 losses, Brighton found themselves at 22nd in the Championship. Chris Hughton took the chance to save Brighton's season and hopefully create a plan for Tony Bloom to utilise the players at his disposal and work his way up the league, only this time in the pursuit for promotion to the Premier League. Evidently, that is an offer Jones couldn't refuse to disassociate himself from, as he was reinstated as assistant manager to the 53-capped Republic of Ireland international, only for a few months though, as Colin Coldwood was appointed assistant in February of 2015, to which Jones reverted again to his first team coaching obligations. Picking up a few more wins over the course of the 14-15 season led to Brighton finishing above the relegation zone, and the pursuit for promotion was underway. The following season, Brighton finished 3rd in the Championship, a massive feat considering they were only 6 points from relegation the previous season, but again fell short in the playoff semi-finals against Sheffield Wednesday. Halfway through the 16-17 season, Jones felt his time was nigh to lead his own club to promotion and glory. Everything up to this point, in January of 2016 led to the next decision he would make, which would inevitably put his name into familiarity within the Football League. From his time learning of Oscar Garcia, where he was given autonomy to create his own control and coaching sessions with the players, to creating a strong friendship with Sami Hyypiä, admitting that players wanted to play under the Finnish legend, and acknowledging that Sami was unfortunate with individual mistakes and the like, leading to his sacking, taking charge of 2 Brighton games before the arrival of Chris Hughton, wearing a suit to signal a sign of intent in making it as a manager against Reading, from being overcome with a mix of emotions over the reality of not being the permanent manager of Brighton to confiding in Hughton for advice today. But then it came. Luton Town. In hindsight, it is like 2 peas in a pod. 18th in League 2, 8 wins from 25 games. Jones had a challenge on his hands. But after a 0-0 draw against Cambridge in his first game in the dugout at Kenilworth Road, and a 2-0 win on the road to Mansfield, there were hints of euphoria around the club. The moment the tides changed in the pursuit for brighter and better things. In the end, Jones steered Luton to a solid 11th place, winning 11 of the remaining 21 games of the 2015-16 season. Jones created a simple slogan during his tenure: "How far can we go?" Indicating with the right plan to fill a stadium, create a new atmosphere and culture, train and recruit a certain way, the goal was the championship. The next season, they finished 4th, but lost in the playoffs against Blackpool, having just spent 1 week during the 2016-17 season out of the top 7. It even started incredibly well, starting off the season with an emphatic 8-2 victory over Yeovil. Then, it happened. During the 2017-18 season, Luton won promotion to League 1. In Jones's first full season, Luton were halfway to his goal into achieving championship status. Entering the 3rd tier of English football, in Jones's second full season as Luton manager, he was up for the challenge of League 1, and he knew his players felt the same. The squad was hungry, athletic, and were eager to score as many goals as possible. Jones knew he was making something special. It did not start as a fairy tale beginning though, earning 1 point from the first 3 games, but this little rut was just that, little. Up to January of 2019, Luton won 15 games from a possible 25, keeping them again within the promotion places in 2nd. At the turn of the year, Luton kept a clean sheet against Barnsley in a 0-0 draw. Then, it happened. It would be fair to say, now, in 2025, Stoke have been incredibly underwhelming for nearly a decade, with below mid-table finishes within the Championship and struggling to fill 3/4 of its stadium. Originally, the Britannia Stadium, Stoke are synonymous for other teams and players to worry about playing Stoke on a cold, rainy night, primarily on Tuesdays. But now, it seems more like a clown fiesta. Arguably, within the modern era, Tony Pulis' tenure at Stoke was their most successful period to date, where they facilitated the Premier League for 10 seasons in a row, finishing as high as 9th. This was definitely a period when their unity showed strength is stronger together. In the turn of 2019, Gary Rowett had just been sacked from his position as manager at the now Bet365 Stadium, and Nathan Jones took the call to take charge of the former Premier League outfit. Stoke, at this point in time, had just lost to Bristol City 2-0, but looking at their results in the first half of the season, you could argue why Stoke sacked Rowett in the first place. 7 losses, 8 wins, and 11 draws. Hindsight is a terrible thing, and I am sure if Stoke had these figures in the first half of the season now, they would bite your hand off to have it. But considering they had just been relegated from the Premier League, consistent victories were in order. On the 9th of January 2019, Nathan Jones took charge of Stoke. Yes, one could argue at that time, or even now, Stoke are a bigger club than Luton, and this was going to be more of a challenge for Jones, as he wasn't just looking to guide his club to League One or the Championship. No, this is now about being promoted to the Premier League. With the likes of Jack Butland, Joe Allen, Ryan Shawcross and Benica Phoebe, what could perceive as some good top quality, Jones had more quality within his assets to bring about his vision of seeing how far his team and club collectively can go. With 20 league games to close this season, the best thing Jones could do is try to replicate his first half season with Luton and finish as high as possible, preparing for next season. From those 20 games, Jones won 3, drawn 11 and lost 6. Incredibly dissimilar to the 15 wins from 25 games with Luton mentioned earlier. Finishing 16th in the league, it is definitely a situation which did not fill Stoke fans' hearts with joy. But it could be worse. You could be a Luton fan today in 2015. Speaking of which, Luton finished first in League One with interim manager Mick Halford and new manager from May the 7th, Graham Jones. Summarising this season for Stoke, it was perceived they were the draw specialists, as they ended the league with 22 draws from 46 games. Evidently, the fact not one player entered double figures in terms of scoring goals was the elephant in the room. After the final game of the season, Jones exclaimed the following, quote, "We've had a tough season. It has been a tough season in choices I have had to make, what I've been through. I sacrificed a promotion at Luton to come here, as it was a big job. We've made great inroads and I'm excited as to what we can achieve." Let's not beat around the bush and get straight to the point. Players came in, others left. 14 games later, Jones was sacked from Stoke. Note to self, turns out 8 points from a possible 42 is a terrible way to start the season. 38 games in charge, 6 wins, 15 draws and 17 losses. Quick math, that is a 15% win rate. An incredibly dismal tenure at his moment in time, pretty much a complete Premier League season which would accumulate 33 points. Luckily for Jones, he would survive in the 2024-25 Premier League season. However, he was aiming for promotion to the Premier League, which ultimately did not happen. To an extent, losing credibility in his ability to handle a larger club, it would make anyone else think otherwise of their ability to pursue a career at the highest level within any field of employment. However, Jones wasn't just anyone. Reflecting on his tenure, he does not regret taking the Stoke job, reiterating how a manager does not become bad overnight. He had faith in himself to start from scratch with another club, and another club took the chance to sign him up. On May 28, 2020, nearly 18 months after his exit, Jones returned to Kenilworth Road. Luton was struggling at the foot of the Championship, sitting 23rd in the table. He was brought back to replace Graham Jones, who had left the club by mutual consent. Facing the press, Nathan Jones didn't shy away from his past. Quote, "Look, I went away, but I want to put this to bed now. I want to say to the fans, I apologise for leaving this football club, but I'm back." With humility and determination, Jones set to work. The club's survival in the Championship seemed unlikely, but somehow, under Jones's leadership, the team turned it around, finishing 19th on the final day of the season. They had done the impossible. Luton Town had survived. What followed was a period of steady and impressive growth. In the 2020-21 season, Jones guided Luton to a 12th place finish. They racked up 62 points, the club's best second-tier performance since the 1981-82 season. The transformation was undeniable. In January 2022, Jones's commitment was rewarded with a new contract running until 2027. And he didn't disappoint. That season, Luton defied expectations again, finishing 6th in the Championship and qualifying for the playoffs. The Hatters were punching well above their weight, though the playoff dream ended in heartbreak. A narrow 2-1 aggregate loss to Huddersfield Town, the campaign was a triumph in its own right. At the end of the season awards, Nathan Jones was named the 2021-22 EFL Championship Manager of the Season. Nearly taking them to the brink of Premier League football, Nathan Jones' second stint at Luton was more than a comeback. It was a masterclass in redemption. In an era where loyalty is rare and second chances are rarer, Jones proved that sometimes, just sometimes, the return can be even greater than the rise. That is until it happened again. Oi, 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 oi. If you're still watching this video, you would have known we would have to talk about this part of Nathan Jones' career. Alas, we are here, so buckle in. When Nathan Jones was appointed Southampton manager on November the 10th, 2022, few could have predicted the sheer absurdity of the roller coaster that was about to unfold. Replacing Ralph Hasenhüttl, who had kept the Saints in the Premier League for several seasons with his high-pressing style and flashes of brilliance, Jones came into a struggling but salvageable side. Armed with a 3.5-year contract and a strong reputation from his time at Luton, the appointment was met with cautious optimism. But what followed was one of the most bizarre managerial stints in Premier League history. Jones's first match in charge was a daunting visit to Anfield, and unsurprisingly, Southampton were defeated 3-1 by Liverpool. No one expected miracles on debut, and fans were willing to give the new manager time to implement his ideas. However, time would quickly prove to be his enemy. His first taste of success came on December the 20th, 2022, in a narrow 2-1 win against League One side Lincoln City in the EFL Cup. It was hardly a statement victory, but it offered a slither of hope that perhaps things might be moving in the right direction. A few weeks later, on January 14th, Jones finally claimed his first Premier League win, a 2-1 result away at Everton. Yet, even that was more a reflection of Everton's own crisis than a turnaround at Southampton. On the surface, these results painted a picture of a new manager slowly finding his footing. But beneath that thin veneer, chaos was brewing. Jones's tactical decisions, team selections, and most alarmingly, his public comments rapidly alienated fans, players, and pundits alike. His post-match interviews quickly became infamous. At one point, Jones bizarrely claimed he had been one of the best coaches in Europe before joining Southampton, implying that he had abandoned his principles to please others at the club. These statements weren't just strange, they reeked of deflection and a lack of accountability. Rather than galvanise his squad or inspire confidence, Jones's words only deepened the rift between himself and those around him. Tactically, the team looked lost. Jones attempted to implement a high-intensity style without the defensive stability or midfield control needed to support it. He frequently chopped and changed formations, often deploying players in unfamiliar roles. Fans struggled to see a clear identity or strategy, something vital when you're battling relegation. Confidence drained from the squad as losses piled up and performances worsened. In total, Jones oversaw just 8 Premier League matches. He won only 1, lost 7, and left Southampton rooted to the bottom of the table. Despite promising to bring grit and resilience, his tenure was marked by confusion, poor results, and off-field distractions. It was not just unsuccessful, it was catastrophically short-lived. On February 12th, 2023, just 94 days after being appointed, Nathan Jones was sacked following a 2-1 home defeat to 10-man Wolverhampton Wanderers. That match summed up his reign perfectly. Despite taking the lead and facing a numerically disadvantaged opponent, Southampton capitulated, collapsing under the weight of their own disorganisation. The result was humiliating. The club had seen enough. Jones's time at Southampton made him the shortest-serving non-caretaker manager in the club's history, a record nobody wants to hold. His appointment, tenure, and eventual dismissal raised serious questions about the club's recruitment strategy and decision-making processes at the executive level. Why hire a manager whose previous Premier League experience was non-existent and whose tactical philosophy didn't match the squad? Why give him a lengthy contract amid a relegation fight? In hindsight, the appointment of Nathan Jones was a gamble that backfired spectacularly. Southampton needed stability, leadership, and a clear plan. What they got instead was confusion, alienation, and freefall. While Jones may one day rebuild his managerial reputation in the Championship, where he's had past success, his spell at Southampton stands as a cautionary tale. It was a surreal chapter of poor decisions and misplaced confidence, remembered more for its strange interviews and baffling choices than any on-field success. In a league where margins are razor thin and confidence is everything, Nathan Jones' Southampton saga is a stark reminder of how quickly things can unravel when a club and its manager lose sight of reality. Following the ill-fated stint at Southampton that lasted just 94 days and yielded only 1 Premier League win in 8 games, Nathan Jones found himself out of work and at a critical juncture in his managerial career. It would be fair to say that many football fans wondered whether his managerial reputation had been permanently damaged. After nearly a year away from the dugout, Jones resurfaced in League One, being appointed manager of Charlton Athletic on the 4th of February 2024. His return to management was met with mixed reactions. Charlton, a proud club with a storied history, was struggling near the relegation zone and had just gone through a turbulent period marked by instability both on and off the pitch. For Jones, this was a chance at redemption. In his first interview, he spoke with clarity and optimism. Quote, "There is a real appetite to build something here, which I am really looking forward to being a part of." However, the early signs were hardly encouraging. In his debut match, Charlton fell 2-0 to fellow strugglers Reading on the 10th of February. The following 3 matches produced 3 draws, including a goalless affair against league leaders Portsmouth on the 24th of February. That result, while respectable in isolation, saw Charlton match an unwanted record, an 18-game winless streak in the league. The sense of déjà vu from his Southampton spell loomed ominously. But what followed was nothing short of remarkable. Quietly, Jones began to instill the core principles that had once made his Luton Town side one of the hardest working and most cohesive units in the Championship. He simplified the game plan, solidified the backline, and restored belief among a disillusioned squad. Gradually, performances improved. A narrow win over Derby in late February broke the winless run and served as a psychological turning point. It was the spark the club needed. Charlton went on a run of just 2 defeats in their final 15 games, climbing steadily up the table. Jones's tactical nous came to the fore, reverting to a compact 4-3-3 system that emphasised midfield control and counter-attacking precision. Players who had looked lost under previous regimes suddenly found form. Veterans led by example, while younger players were given defined roles and the confidence to express themselves. A particularly memorable moment came in April when Charlton got the edge over promotion-chasing Barnsley. The atmosphere was electric, and it felt as though the club had finally turned a corner. They had finished 16th in Jones's half-season, and again, it was his intent in his first full season with Charlton that he wanted promotion by any means. In the season just finished, Charlton finished 4th, and scoring the only goal against Wycombe throughout the 2 legs in the playoff semi-final, Charlton earned a trip to Wembley to face Leyton Orient. Again, it was a single goal that sent Charlton packing, as they were destined to play in the Championship next season. For Jones, this achievement wasn't just a managerial success, it was personal redemption. He had gone from being ridiculed in the national press to orchestrating a textbook revival of a fallen giant. His man management, tactical flexibility, and emotional intelligence, so conspicuously absent at Southampton, were now on full display. While questions remain about whether Jones can sustain this momentum in the Championship, few can argue against the job he has done at Charlton. He took a fractured squad flirting with relegation and turned them into promotion winners in a season and a half. That takes more than just tactics. It requires vision, resilience, and the ability to inspire belief where there was none. In many ways, this chapter at Charlton could prove the most defining of Jones's career. It showed that even in the aftermath of public failure, redemption is possible with the right attitude and environment. The Addicts now look ahead to a new chapter in the Championship with renewed hope, and in Nathan Jones, they have a manager who has rediscovered not just his identity, but his purpose. And that's it. I didn't think this video would be this long, but who would have thought someone who had stepped into professional management, both from 2008 with the Yeovil Ladies and from 2016 with Luton, not even a decade ago, would have this much already on their plate. As we bring this video to a close, Nathan Jones remains, as ever, something of an enigma. From the highs of Luton to the turmoil at Stoke, back to another high with Luton, and then a brief, chaotic stint at Southampton, Jones has often seemed like a manager caught between ambition and identity. He flirted with the big time, but never quite landed. His decisions, sometimes brave, sometimes baffling, left many wondering whether he truly belonged at the top level, or if he was simply destined to orbit around it, forever in limbo. But this season with Charlton Athletic has offered a different glimpse. A manager once defined by rapid rises and abrupt falls has instead leaned into patience. He's taken a club that has been languishing and given it structure, belief, and momentum. Promotion isn't just a mark of success, it's a testament to learning from the past. It's easy to dismiss Jones based on his past failures, but maybe this is exactly what he needed. A clean slate, away from the pressure of immediate expectation, to build something on his own terms. He's not the finished article, but perhaps that's the point. Few managers are, especially those daring enough to evolve. In sticking with one club, in weathering the doubts and rebuilding from the ground up, there may yet be redemption, not just for Charlton, but for Nathan Jones himself. If he continues this path, not chasing the bright lights too quickly, he might just prove he belongs in the Premier League after all. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Do you think Nathan Jones has finally turned the corner? As such, I will definitely see you soon.